Hello, everyone. I think we'll get started. It's right on time at 5 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. My name is Lucia Dettori. I'm an associate dean and faculty member at the College of Computing and Digital Media at DePaul University. And welcome to the launch of our DeSports program. Here is what we're gonna go over today. I'm going to give you a brief welcome, and then we'll talk about some details about the DePaul program, get some details for you. I will be moderating a panel of 4 great experts in esports that will bring different perspective to the esports world in general, and you'll have an opportunity to do a Q&A and engage with this great panel. And then the part you're all waiting for, which is the Rocket League competition that will happen at the end of this presentation here. I know that there are some very dedicated gamers out there, and I want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. So if you're a casual gamer, it's still an opportunity for you to get involved. And I'm going to out myself here. I'm a PhD in mathematics. I'm a big shot in computing at DePaul, and I still get beaten by my daughter and my son every time we play FIFA. So there's room for everybody here. I want to give it over to Kevin for a minute to give us some information about how we can actually participate in the Rocket League competition, and then I'll take it back from you, Kevin. You're muted.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lucia. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Great. So welcome to everyone. I'm Kevin Ryan, and
Kevin Fair. Sorry, I meant Kevin Fair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse. You got 2 of a good thing going on. 2 of a good thing.
There's too many similarities. Too many.
Well, not to take it away from you, Kevin Ryan. I appreciate you guys having me here. And no, I'll be really super brief. Thank you, Lucia, for the quick introduction. So real quick, I know you guys are hoping to hop into a Rocket League tournament tonight. And below, I think, or no, maybe not even here, but I'm going to list my Rocket ID into the chat, my Epic ID, for everyone that, once again, I'm certain either does or does not have their parent waiver to go along with this. I am adding and accepting friend requests, to which we're going to make 4 random team, possibly of 3, that we're going to play 3v3s on. And then we're going to go over to the DePaul Esports Twitch channel, which you guys are going to receive a link for so that you guys can watch at 6 p.m. I'm going to send invites to a private party so that we can spectate and view each games. Please do not try to join the private room all at once. I'm going to end up having to jump out a window if you do all at once. So I'm going to try to invite 2 teams, and what we're going to try to do is 3s today. So obviously 6 people, including myself, to spectate and commentate, which I'll be doing the shoutcasting for you guys tonight. And realistically, I think that's about as straightforward as the instructions get.
All right, great. And I'll give you a chance to come back in at the end of the presentation, so for some reminders.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. So the DeSports program officially launches today. I am so excited about this. We've been planning for several months this launch, and then of course we have to pivot for the COVID pandemic. But this is a great collaboration between CPS, DePaul, the College of Computing and Digital Media, as well as the College of Science and Health, and the great esports community at DePaul. And the secret sauce is making all this work is funding from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Foundation. They have been a partner with our joint efforts between CPS and DePaul to broaden participation in computing, and they have supported a lot of our efforts to expand computer science in CPS. And the visionary leadership of CME has recognized how esports can be a way to help students develop some critical skills and really connect the world of esports to career and majors in computing. I put in here just a few examples of the type of majors that you can pursue in the College of Computing and Digital Media here at DePaul, and also beyond that in business and communication that directly prepare you for careers that are related to esports. So for some details on the actual program that you signed up for, I'm gonna give it to Kevin Ryan this time, who's one of the teachers at our academy and is the developer of the curriculum for the DeSports program. So take it away, Kevin Ryan.
All right, so this time it is me. All right, well, so first of all, welcome to everyone. As Lucia said, I'm Kevin Ryan from OR Academy, and I'm the developer of the curriculum for DeSports, and one of the coaches. I'll be working with the students at OR this year. And I just want to tell you a little bit more about what this program is and what it looks like, so that we can all kind of feel good about starting on the same page as far as what the students are going to be doing this year. So I wanted to kind of name, first of all, that tonight I know I'm speaking to two audiences at the same time. I'm speaking to our students who probably know and love the world of gaming and esports, as well as some parents and teachers who might not be as familiar. So I'm going to try to speak to both groups at the same time sometimes, but also switching back and forth. So hopefully this presentation has something new for everyone to kind of learn about esports as well as the program. So in a nutshell, esports and DeSports are going to provide us with an opportunity to do a whole bunch of engaging, exciting things together involving video games. These include working and competing together as a team, focusing on growing and improving as gamers and as thinkers who are part of a team that's all working toward the same goal. We're going to be working with a lot of opportunities where students are going to use new tools and technologies and practice developing tactics and strategies for how they play. And all of this is going to be built on students' passions, right? We have a lot of people in here who are excited about gaming and esports and game design and all of the things that sort of surround that world. So you'll notice that these four things might be familiar to you because they are the same things that we tend to work on in most of our after-school programs. Whether it's basketball or theater or academic decathlon. The difference is that that we try to do this in a way that really builds on the existing passion students have for gaming. That's why you're all here, right? And unto this point, there haven't been too many opportunities to do all of these exciting things within that world of gaming and esports. And so students have been asking for it. And so what we're trying to do is provide a really great and curated environment where you guys can really engage in that practice and that learning. So then this leads to the inevitable question. So what exactly does DeSports look like? What does our program look like on a day-to-day basis, and what's it all about? So I'm going to try to speak to that on a few different levels. And the first one is kind of on the level of the curriculum, what this whole program is designed around, because we're not just putting students in a room and telling them play video games. There's kind of elements to this that are going to elevate that experience. And they're all kind of based around, well, what we call the 4 C's, which is taken from a model for lots of different 21st century after school programs. And those 4 C's comprise what you can think of as sort of foundational skills that are proven to help students succeed, not just in high school, but beyond high school. So we're talking in post-secondary education and in their early careers. And so these activities, which are listed here on the screen, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, all kind of form this foundation of a broad-based skill set that students can use to succeed, whether it's in the classroom in college, in the classroom in high school, or starting out in their careers whenever they're ready to begin on that journey. So to that end, I want to tell you about the format in which we're going to do these things. So the first and foremost part of this, right, and the one that I think is exciting to a lot of the students who are here today, is that we're providing you a place to game. And what's really cool about this is that we're going to have a community for you guys to game in within your schools. But what's also really great is that this particular program is really well suited to adapting to the world we're living in right now of remote learning. We can do this work from home and continue to game and socialize and play together and achieve a lot of the same things we would achieve in person. So we're really excited to bring that opportunity to you. And so we'll be doing this on a twice-a-week basis for about 2.5 hours. when we'll meet, we'll play games together, and you'll engage in the activities we do in DeSports to kind of elevate that experience with the help of some of our staff. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what it's going to look like and what resources we're going to give you to help you elevate that experience. So this is what we kind of refer to as the world of DeSports, what our particular program looks like. And there's three main components. The first one is this curriculum that we've built with the help of educators, both in college and high school, as well as other specialists in community psych and after-school programming. And it's going to be led on site in the schools when we're back in schools, but also virtually when we come together by your program educators. So people from your schools who were handpicked to help work on this because they too are passionate about it. The second thing is we're going to provide real training. So this is sports-based training led by coaches and DePaul students and faculty that's going to help you guys get better at video games and learn how to get better at video games, whatever those are. So that's going to involve the games that we're going to play in competitive seasons, as well as the games that you guys play for fun during what we call open arcade hours during the time that we meet. And lastly, we're going to provide an opportunity for competition as well. So you can test your skills and mark your progress and your growth as you endeavor to get better at these things and learn how to beat games and succeed as a team. And you're going to be able to do that against gamers at your school, as well as other gamers from the other sites at the program. So that's an exciting opportunity. You'll actually get to compete with each other in video gaming on a high school level. Now, what's really cool about this, right, is as we're doing all of this stuff, it's actually going to feed directly into these skills, right? So what we're doing when we practice, when we play together, is working on those 4 core skills that are proven to lead to better college and career readiness. So we're going to be doing types of activities as we train and as your mentors provide coaching that will help you engage in critical thinking, engage in problem solving and effective communication. So all of those types of skills that are proven to get you ready for college and for your early careers. And the other really exciting thing about this is that we're going to be able to provide you with some opportunities to network and really get your, to take a dip with your toe, if you will, into the world of gaming and the world of esports and what that has to offer you as a burgeoning academic and career professional. So we're going to visit colleges, we're going to meet college gamers and industry professionals, whether that's virtually right now or eventually when we get back in person, going to those places and really seeing the work that they do. And the thing about all of this, right, is that it was all generated and designed and created based on the passions that students were telling us about. This program didn't come into existence just because we thought it should exist. It came into existence because you guys, the students, have been asking for it. And we thought about how to really provide that for you in a way that's going to serve you beyond just play, but meaningful play. And it was designed from the ground up to be accessible to all levels, right? So this is for new gamers, casual gamers, competitive gamers, or people who are just interested in gaming. So there's something here for everyone. And there's something here for people with all different interests as well, which is going to be reflected in the types of career professionals that we connect you with during the program. So computer science, digital media, STEM, people who want to learn more about shoutcasting and commentating on esports or producing content for esports. There's a place for you all to learn something about these things that you're passionate about at DeSports. Because at the end of the day, we learned that the best kind of learning is learning that comes from playing. And all we wanted to do with DeSports is to elevate that play and make that play mean something, not just in high school, but beyond high school. And so we're really excited to bring this opportunity to you in your schools and to respond to the things that you guys bring to us, what you are passionate about, what you want to do, and to continue to learn from you guys as much as you learn from us. So with that, very brief, but hopefully thorough preview of the program. I will go ahead and turn it over to Lucia again, I think, to get us ready for the panel.
Thank you, Kevin. I feel like I want to sign up. Can I go back to a high school? This sounds like a lot of fun to me, and I'm excited for our students at DePaul that will be part of this exciting adventure with you. But now I have the pleasure to spend a little bit of time getting a conversation going with 4 great experts of esports and bring in different perspective in their relationship to esports. And since we want you to be part of the conversation, I want to remind you that if you hover towards the bottom of your screen, you would see a Q&A button in your Zoom webinar, and that's where you would put questions that I'll try to pick up and ask the panelists at the end of their presentation. I'm going to ask each of them a question to kind of get some sense of their experiences and get the conversation going, and then your questions will kind of keep the conversation going. So my first panelist is Todd McFarlane. I don't see your face in there, but hopefully you're unmuting while we're doing this. Todd is a teacher at Steinman's College Prep, and he's also a project coordinator for our DeSports program. Todd, I know that you are a leader in the esports community in the high school, both at CPS and beyond. So I thought I'd invite you to talk a little bit about where the movement is locally and nationally, and what you perceive to be the benefit for students in high school to be part of that esport movement.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lucia, and thank you guys all for being here too. I think it's great to have everyone here and finding out about this program that DePaul is putting on, and it's just another opportunity for all of esports, and especially for us in Chicago to have a chance to participate where normally we wouldn't be able to. And so the big thing with Illinois and how it's growing, especially like in Chicago and Illinois and just growing up, is I started with a very small group about 4 years ago with esports tournaments, and it was probably about 13, 14 schools locally based around Chicago area, to find out that, you know, once we were to go across the entire state, we blew up fairly big. We started with like 50 the second year, and then it kind of grew up. Now we're sitting over 100 schools. The IHSA is actually putting a committee together to make sure esports gets put on their activities list so that they can start holding competitions for it. And so it was really been growing exponentially every year over year. Just this year alone, we're participating in fall tournaments, and we have over 60 schools with over 100 teams participating in just 2 different games right now. So it's really awesome to see this growth and see the students come out for something that they're so passionate about. It's really great to see. And then there's also the national movement. So with DeSports included, there's other national organizations that are out there trying to get more of this holistic school view in gaming. It's not just about competing, but it's also about putting together learning for students, doing something they love, whether it's participating in social emotional learning as well as training, or whether it's also learning about curriculum and different things, how to run a gaming club, business management skills, doing artistic skills with digital media and streaming. This growth has just really brought a whole bunch of students that didn't realize that they had an opportunity to join the gaming community by not just being gamers. So no matter what you do, one of my famous things always to say to everyone is like, every company out there that is involved with games needs an accountant. So if you love numbers and you like statistics, guess what? They need you there. And it's better to be part of something that you want to be part of, doing a job that you love to do, than just, you know, doing it for someone else to get their paycheck. So we've really been trying to focus on this holistic club view, which makes a lot of new opportunities for students to learn how to communicate and collaborate. And with doing this, we end up building a lot of new leaders, because these kids who are the shyest kids ever might not be able to participate, but then when they get something that they love, they'll realize that, hey, I can be the captain for this. I can be the coach. So they really step up and step out into that role. We've had several opportunities where kids, you know, parents are like, that's not my kid that's leading that team to this championship. So it's kind of really cool to watch that transformation when it's something that they love. And, you know, Kevin talked about it before with that passion and teaching through passion. And I think that's what esports is really about, is teaching through that passion.
Thank you, Todd. And as much as I like to say we're a trailblazer here, I know of other colleagues at universities that are pairing with their school district to support some of these initiatives. So it's an exciting movement across the nation. Next panelist, Greg Topo. I see that you're unmuted. Perfect. He's a journalist, in adjunct faculty at Northwestern, and the author of a classic now, The Game Believes in You book. Greg, you've written extensively about the about video games in education. I know that this is for some a delicate subject, for others a game changer, if I dare say that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned from researching the subject and what you found and summarized in your writing?
Sure. Thanks, Lucia, and thanks for having me. And thanks for this great panel. What a group of people. You know, I'm very much came to this subject by accident. I had no intention of writing a book about video games and learning. I actually, to be perfectly honest with you, when I started this process, I wasn't even interested in video games. I wanted to write about learning, and I wanted to write about learning taking place at a different level than what I was seeing. I'd been by then covering education for about 15 years and was just kind of getting sick of it. And what I started to see as I met teachers who were using games in the classroom, who are thinking about games, and who were sort of using sort of the, if you will, the kind of the motivational techniques of games, I found what actually Kevin was talking about earlier, that they were focusing on some things that school doesn't necessarily focus on. They were focusing on growth. They were focusing on teamwork. They were focusing on thinking about what kids love about learning. And I love what he said a few minutes ago. I hope I'm not embarrassing you, Kevin. This is Kevin Ryan. He said the best sort of learning comes from playing. And, you know, that's just sort of like I think something that people are realizing in a way they hadn't before. You know, you think about, obviously, athletes and excuse me, athletes and musicians, you know, they play all the time, right? We would sort of expect it of them. But, you know, when you think about other disciplines, almost every other discipline, they get better at what they're doing by playing. You know, scientists, historians, engineers, even, you know, educators, journalists, they basically, they sort of take the material and they sort of play with it. They ask, what if? They play with the variables. And that's how they get better at it. Obviously, they practice it. And I was so fascinated with this and trying to kind of understand learning at a sort of much more deep level. And what I found was that folks who were interested in games, and especially video games, were talking about this stuff at a level that I just had not seen before. So you asked me what I've learned. I guess I've learned that, you know, after, I think you could, of course, my dogs are all going to start making noise as I'm talking here, so I hope you don't mind. They're getting excited. I think after like basically 50 years of sort of, you know, the video game industry being with us, I think more people have experience with games and more people have experience with the kind of learning you do when you're playing games. And I think that's something we can take into education, hopefully, and sort of make education richer because of that.
Thank you, Greg.
Sure.
A lot of insight. You might need to mute yourself
so
for a
you don't have
little
to listen
bit.
to my dogs all night.
All right. Next up, Felipe Ponce. He's one of the teachers at George Washington High School, and I know from talking with you that I know you have a passion for gaming, but that's not a passion that was always embraced by your family and community. So you had to kind of convince the people around you that this was something worth pursuing. So maybe you can share a little bit your experience growing up and what motivates you to start an esports club at your school.
Yeah, definitely. So, hi everyone. Thanks for having me here, Lucia. And I just want to say thank you for, you know, allowing or like starting this kind of movement with DePaul and going into CPS. I think it's a fantastic thing that's happening, and I'm really excited for the future of it. But just to kind of give everyone a little bit of information about myself, yeah, so like Lucia said, video games have always been like a huge part of my life. I mean, I remember being, you know, 6 years old playing Super Mario for the first time at my cousin's house, who, keep in mind, me and my cousin, we would always get into arguments and always fight, but Super Mario was like the only thing that got us to calm down and stop fighting and like enjoy our presence. And now he's one of my best friends. So it's crazy how it starts, right? It all started with a controller. And then, you know, today, you know, being a coach and teacher at Washington, that also has to do with video games. Like I said, it's always been part of my life in some way, shape, or form. But although it's always been a big part of my life, it was never really been accepted from my parents until recently, actually. For them, it was always school, soccer, baseball, school, soccer, baseball. Like that's all it was for them. You know, like go to school, you know, in the fall you're playing soccer, in the spring you're playing baseball. Like that's all it is. I never really had time for video games, although I made time, right? Because for me, it was all about Halo when I was in high school. And if you're not familiar with Halo, it's this, you know, sci-fi game that pretty awesome, and I just fell in love with that world in high school. And I would, like I said, I would find time, right? I would you know, go to school in the morning and then come back after soccer practice. I'd eat, I'd do my homework as quickly as I could, just so that I can play Halo until 3-4 in the morning. And the only reason I would stop at 3 is because that's around the time my dad would get up to go to work, and I didn't want to get in trouble, you know? So I had to be done by the time he got up to go to work. Then he would go to work and I'd wake up again. So like, I'd probably only sleep a couple hours a day and then just go back to school.
Right. We don't want to promote too much of that.
yeah. Right. That's why we're giving them time, you know, during to play. But yeah, so, and that's pretty much what it was. But like, I would try to go to tournaments for Halo with my friends, and for my parents, it was a no-go. They wanted me to focus on school, soccer, and baseball all the time. And they saw it as a distraction, right? So, but now we're coming to see that it's not so much a distraction, right? If anything, it you know, like Kevin, and one of the things that we're continuing to hear is, you know, you learn by playing. So if I had the support in high school for, you know, Halo, like we're doing so now for these students, I mean, who knows how different my life could have been, right? Like I see people like Ninja and Nadeshot. For those of you who don't know who, you know, Ninja and Nadeshot are, they're two of the most iconic people in video games today. And Ninja is 29 years old. He's about my age, and he was a Halo pro, right? So like we were competing in Halo around the same time, and you know, it just so happened that he got a little bit different support than I did when it came to video games. But yeah, I mean, that's where I see myself now, right? I see myself now not only as like a teacher or coach at George Washington, but as someone who supports these ambitions of my students who are interested in video games, who aren't really interested in traditional sports or clubs. You know, these student athletes are taking something they're passionate about and using it to represent themselves, their families, and their high school in the community, and even city, state, nation, right? So I think it's really important to take all of these things that our students are interested in. In this case, it's video games, and giving them this outlet to express themselves, promote themselves, represent themselves and their communities, families, and everything, and so on, right? And I think, you know, it's a great way to have them get more involved in their school, which they may or may not otherwise be as involved in their school. It's just one different way to do that. So
thank you, Felipe. And I'm kind of glad you didn't make it in Halo, so that we have a great teacher in our schools.
Hey, it's never too late. It's never too late.
That's fine. You can do it until 3 a.m., but you're a little too old for that now. I love what you mentioned specifically, that this is a way to engage students that will not be engaging in sports or some of the other clubs of the schools, because I know that that's certainly something that happens at DePaul. And Sasha here is, Sasha Mendez is one of our DePaul students. She's actually pursuing a combined BA, MA in German. I don't know why we lost you at CDM, but and she's the president of the DePaul Role-Playing Game Club. And so you're obviously very involved in the esports world at DePaul, even though it's not related to your majors. And so I wanted to, I wanted you to share, some thoughts on what this involvement has meant to you as a college student, and what are the opportunities and growth that you saw in yourself as a result of this involvement.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, when I started DePaul.
Just one sec,
yeah.
Sasha. I want to encourage people to use the Q&A to queue up some questions for the panelists after, so that we can get to it after Sasha's. Sorry, Sasha.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, when I started DePaul a couple years ago, I never imagined getting into any esports or starting my own student organization. But as I was trying to find a new community of people to just befriend, hang around with, just talk to, I found a pretty much untapped market of different gamers. I am the president and co-founder of DePaul Role-Playing Games. So those of you who don't know, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. We all sit around a table. We tell these stories about our characters that we are playing, similar to if you're playing a RPG video game or an MMO. And currently we're at about 200 students over the couple of years in which we started. And for me, I have seen incredible growth, not only in myself, but in the other students who serve on my executive board, or just other members that I have gotten to know very well. It actually has kind of helped me to learn about myself that leadership is actually something that I really enjoy, and I never thought I would think that about myself. And just this past summer, I was involved in a class where I presented to the Chicago Cubs how they can take Twitch and improve their own brand. So that was a great opportunity, and to really show a lot more than just the representatives of the Cubs themselves, but like my other classmates who had no idea anything about esports, and to show them how this is a growing community. And I have met a lot of good people who I will probably be friends with for years to come. And I have seen a number of them grow. Like I spoke with Betty before, I have one student that I've been working with who's really come into their own, really broken out of their shell, made a whole bunch of new friends, and that I just love seeing that growth of all the students. As far as me, I'm not a competitive gamer. I'm more casual. I tried out for the Overwatch team, but it was really something that I didn't really enjoy too much, but I found other ways to get involved in the community and help in my own way.
Great. Thank you for sharing your thoughts here. I know that I have a lot of my students from all of the different majors at CDMs that are gamers, and some are just like you, they're casual gamers, but they might be in game programming because they have that they appreciate the challenge of create a successful game and so forth. So it's really exciting at DePaul to see how the entire spectrum of majors are involved in this world. I saw there was a question coming in. Yes, so I guess probably, I don't know if from one of the students or one of the parents in the audience, they want to have a little bit better sense of what an actual the sports session would look like a random Tuesday afternoon. What would the lesson look like, and what would they be doing? So I guess this is probably for Felipe or Kevin to take, or Todd on the teacher side. All right. You're both muted though. Kevin, are you unmuting?
I
There you
can
go.
take that one. Sure. The thing about our sessions is that we definitely put the esports like practices and training at the center of it. But we like to bookend what we do in class or in DeSports programming with some other kind of activity that connects to something that goes beyond just gaming. Because this is about like using our passions and our love for gaming to translate it into something that's going to serve us no matter what we're doing. So on an average day, we'll do something like come together at the beginning of class, people will warm up, play a couple of games casually, but then once we start, we'll do something like have a roundtable check-in, talk about the topic for the day, and share out from our own experiences. At which point, after we kind of talk about what we'll be doing that day, we'll get into the actual coaching and training part of the session. We might present a lesson on how to position yourself defensively in Rocket League, or how to run a give and go play in NBA 2K, right? And we'll do a series of drills and team-based practices to work on that skill, reflect on it, and essentially like maybe hone our communication tactics. And then we'll break out and start applying that to our play. And then at the end of the session, we come back together, talk about how what we learned that day is going to help us as gamers, but usually also how it's going to help us beyond. Like, what did we learn about the importance of team-based communication? What did we learn about how we can use systematic problem solving to deal with an obstacle and to learn and grow to be better at what we're passionate about? At which point then, for the rest of the session, we'll kind of send kids off to play the game, having learned something new, and to apply it to their practice. We'll have a little bit more informal play at the end. Sometimes we'll have an informal competition to test our skills before we kind of wrap up, check in to end things, and then either head out from the building if we're in the building, or log off if we're engaging virtually. So on any given day, it'll follow a similar format where we really try to bookend what we're doing in DeSports with some kind of connection to the real world.
Excellent. I still want to sign up. Greg, I know there are some skeptics in the audience, maybe from the parent side, that says, is this the right club for my students? Can you give us a word of wisdom of what, why this would be a good choice for students to be involved?
I mean, at first blush, I think the thing that I'd want to point out is when I hear you folks talking, you would never guess that we are in the middle of a pandemic that has totally thrown our entire educational system off its pins. The stuff that you folks are doing is carrying on as normal. I mean, or at least as close to normal as possible. The ways you communicate, the ways you interact, the ways you just get work done and get stuff done is happening, really sort of as close to normal as possible. You can't say that for the rest of the education field at this point. I mean, I'm writing all the time these days about how sort of thrown for a loop the rest of the system is. Yet the esports sector just is kind of getting stuff done. And there are obviously exceptions to that. I think one of the challenges is the resource challenge, which is, do students who maybe, can't afford some of the equipment, partake just like the rest of the kids in a community. But I think in terms of just, being skeptical about something like esports, the thing I always say to people sort of more in general, to adults, more in general about what, when they're kind of looking askance at video gaming, is there's no substitute for, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, shutting up and playing. Just sitting down with the game and trying it out yourself. Whenever, I've had it in the course of, writing my book and in the course of sort of doing all this reporting and research, every time a friend would say, would hear that I was writing a book about video games, they would kind of launch into this sort of soliloquy about how horrible it was that their kid was in the basement playing game A, B, C, or D, whatever game they didn't like. And, what could I do to get them to stop? And I always told them, don't make them stop. Go play the game yourself. Go do it badly, and you'll see what they like about it. Ask them questions. Be curious. Try to find out as much as you can sort of what the appeal is. Number one, the first thing you'll realize is how damn hard it is, and how your kid, it may seem like they're doing sort of something stupid and easy and mindless. They're actually doing something, very sophisticated, very difficult, and it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of problem solving, a lot of, step-by-step thinking. So what I said in the book is that games are almost entirely different from what we tend to think. Anyway, I could go on forever, but that's my sort of short prescription, which worried about your kid partaking in any aspect of this. Don't think and talk about it. Sit down and play. The controller is called a controller for a reason, because your kids are in control and they like that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you really stress the problem solving, both in terms of launching the program, of course, but also in terms of the process the students or the players regularly go through. This is like the core of a computing mentality. And I know that it seems like a little bit of a leap of faith, where it's more natural to think of game design, game programming, those kind of careers, or animation when you create the assets for the game and so forth, as the normal connection with these sports. But really, that's a fundamental skills for computing, and that's the approach of all the courses that we offer, both at CPS and at DePaul, in terms of having inquiry-based and problem solving. You're not coding for the sake of coding. You're coding because you want to solve a problem. And the same is true here. Like you're learning these skills because you want to beat the game. You want to move on. You're going to become. And so that's absolutely why I see these two coming together. And I, beyond the computing related career, certainly all the ones related to the tournaments themselves, think of networking, having all of this. We're using these technologies, right? We're going to do a virtual, an online Rocket League tournament in a minute. And so that is networking, that is cybersecurity. You want to make sure that all of that is appropriately set up. Same with communication and so forth. I wanted to, Todd, maybe get your take on talking a little bit more about the benefit you've seen from student participating in gaming in high school. You have experience with different high schools and different students, even before this structure of the DePaul DeSports program.
Yeah, I think just exposing students to this world outside of just gaming to play a game, I think is really important. And I think getting them to be able to learn how to practice effectively in a game. Most kids like, oh, hey, kind of like Greg said, oh, just get up in there and play. But we also want to take that step back and be like, well, let's stop playing and actually look at that, because a lot of kids are like, hey, I lost that one. Let's queue up for the next one, and let's queue up for the next one. And let's, keep playing. The more I play, the better I'll get. And actually having them be reflective about their play and actually think about their actions and what they're doing during the game, because that's really where we see the most growth about it. And so over these course of years, and by having a mentor and a guide to help them, be able to see that themselves. It's kind of like teaching, like we can't just throw the book at a kid and say, oh, here's a bunch of numbers. Keep trying. And you just watch yourself fail. And a lot of kids end up failing because they don't have a guide. They're like, oh, I don't like that game. It's stupid. And then throw it out and go on to the next one. And, if they really gave it a chance or had someone to be their guide through that game, they might have, had a better experience with it, especially when we get to the competitive games. Just watching one student maybe play, Rocket League, for example, but then realizing, well, maybe I don't really like Rocket League, but I do like this part about it, and then jumping to another game and then watching them excel in that game just because they have an interest in it and it's available for them. So I think it's really important to focus on those skills of how to get better in a game, and then watching our students just grow. And then they realize, you know what, I actually don't like playing, but I really like being the shoutcaster. And then watching them, I don't really like playing, but I really love doing the graphic works and seeing my work or seeing my music on the live streams, and just watching them be able to express their own personality in a medium that they love, even though they might not be the greatest at it, might not want to achieve that high level. Watching them create stuff out of passion, again, that's what we've been talking about all day, is just passion behind gaming. I think that's really important to see. I mean, I've had many students give up hours and hours of time to create graphics and create music for esports because they just wanted to, get it out there, and they had no other outlet to do it. There was no other club to do that at school and no other way to have that outlet. So I think, one thing about esports in general is that we're not just about competing in gaming. We're also about offering all of these other opportunities for our students that they wouldn't be getting because a lot of our schools are just too small or not well funded enough to be able to partake in them, where we need leaders at our schools. We need kids to be able to know how to run a tournament, because it does show those problem solving skills. It does show them being able to communicate and effectively use media and market their tournament if they want to do it, whether it's in-house or across different schools. We want to see our students succeed so that they know what it's going to be like once they get out of high school and have to enter that real world and be like, okay, I don't know what to do, but we're going to give some of that experience to them while they're participating in esports.
Excellent. Felipe or Kevin, if you can jump in. I know that one aspect of the sports program is the fact that we will involve the DePaul students who will be taking a service learning course at DePaul and participate as near peer mentors and coaches to the students in the after school program. What do you see the value of that relationship, or, how do you envision that working within your, within the program? Is it Kevin or Felipe that's running with it? Kevin, you're starting? Okay.
I can start, and then Felipe, if you want to chime in too. I think so. For me, I think my experience when I was in middle school and high school and loved gaming, it was similar to Felipe's, right? I remember, like, it echoes in my head, my dad always saying, video games are a waste of time, and it's a waste of your good time. Why don't you do something like go to youth group, or I used to wrestle and run cross country and stuff. And I think the real value of working with near peer mentors is twofold. I think one is just seeing that there are successful young adults out there who are going to a great university and studying for their passions, whether it's in or outside gaming, who are also gamers, right? And seeing that gaming communities are not, like Todd was saying, not just about gaming. They're about supporting one another and your ambitions and your goals, like any community of people who gather around something that they love. And being able to see examples of how you can love and be passionate about and want to succeed in business or in marketing or in engineering and still be part of a gaming community. And that can be part of your college experience too. And I think seeing people who are doing that work and seeing that it's not a waste of your time, it actually feeds into your other passions is incredibly valuable. And then two, having people who've also gone through the experience of being a high school student and turned their gaming experiences into something that either rejuvenates them or propels their studies or their passions. And putting high school students into contact with the DePaul students who've been through that is incredibly valuable, because they can give feedback and advice on how to balance, your passion for gaming with your obligations, how to form a gaming community in your school or outside of school if that's something you care about. how to talk about topics in gaming or around gaming with your parents and your friends and your community. So I think, to me, like those bonds and those relationships between high school students and people who just got out of high school and really did a great job, obviously, right, if they're going to DePaul, and turned their gaming hobby into a source of strength or a source of motivation is incredibly valuable.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Kevin pretty much hit it on the head. I mean, what I was thinking of a lot is like that mentorship kind of, right? Like I just think back on when I was in high school, like, I didn't have anyone that had similar interests, you know, to look up to, right? I mean, yeah, I had my cousin who played soccer when, you know, who was playing soccer at a higher level, who was slightly older than me, like semi-pro level. And then I had another cousin who was playing baseball in like JUCO, junior college. But I didn't have anyone who, you know, shared the same gaming interests besides like my cousin who was about the same age as me. But couldn't really look at him as a mentor. And I think, you know, having these students at DePaul who have these who are genuinely interested in the same things, whether it be video games or streaming or, you know, computer science, whatever that may be, I think having that is super important because it's so it just builds upon that connection of like, okay, this isn't just some random person at a university coming to talk to me. Like this person is genuinely interested in video games. And I think that's kind of like why, you know, the coaches connect to like the students who are also in these esports programs, whether it be at Steinmetz or you know, George Washington. You know, the coaches are genuinely interested in the games that are being played and so on and so forth. So that's why the students are more inclined to like okay, cool, this is a part of my school, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be paying more attention, or I'm going to be learning from what you have to say.
Right. Sasha, I guess we're wrapping up. I know that I'm standing between this and a tournament, so I can't go over. But I wanted to ask you, you know, one of the focus of this program is really to make sure that this is an inclusive student-led program. And so I know that you know, you mentioned you're a casual gamer, your degree is in German, you know, I know. So I wonder, you know, what was your experience in terms of, especially being in the role-playing club, starting the role-playing club, as this, you know, what was your experience at as part of the esports community at DePaul vis-a-vis this approach?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, like, by all measures, as a casual gamer, my degree has nothing to do with gaming at first glance. Like, why am I involved in this? Kind of, but gaming is something that I've always done since I was a young kid. Like, the first game that I remember playing was Pokemon Yellow on my original Game Boy. So starting in, I just wanted to find people who were similar to me. And as I started DePaul role-playing game, that was one of my foundations in building the club was community. No matter whatever walk of life you come from, whatever, you know, major you have, we all share one thing, and that's our love of games. Even if you're new and like have no idea how to do anything, there are people in there willing to help and just like walk you through it. And through there, I've seen a lot of people make some great friends and just like form their own little groups.
Yeah. So maybe we can sign up Sasha for that class, so she'll be one of the mentors. All right, I think this is all the time we have. So I want to thank all the panelists. I've learned a lot. I learn a lot every time we meet, you know, weekly almost. And you're going to see some of them again. You know, they're as the program unfolds, we're going to bring a lot of guest speakers virtually for the beginning, and hopefully will get to experience some of this sweat in person. And I'm gonna kick it off to Kevin for the Rocket League tournament. I want to invite everybody that is not actually gaming to follow the competition and his shoutcasting on DePaul's esports Twitch account there. And the swags are on the line to see who wins that for the winners of the Rocket League competition. I think this wraps up this part of the program. I'm gonna stay on for a little bit because in case there is some additional question, and I know the people in the background are making sure that the competition goes off without a hitch. You should have received the information by email. And well, thank you very much. It's game on. Thank you.
So Kevin.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So Kevin Fair.
Kevin Fair's coming up with some.
Kevin's muted.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
I think that's going to make it make sense. And I may have an echo, so I'm going to be brief.
Do I need, okay, do I need to relinquish the screen sharing to him?
Yeah, go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay, great. Hang on just one sec. All right, I'm out.
Perfect. So even I think if the students at home are watching in speaker view really quickly, I've got a few of you guys that I added to the list for my Epic ID. And right now I've got 4 people. So I could do some 2v2 matches that I want to show for you guys on DePaul Esports' Twitch channel. If you guys have not, go ahead, take a look at your Epic console on your PC. Pull it open real quick. You should have an invite from KFair3. That's KFAIR, then the number 3. Go ahead and accept that, guys. And I'll divvy you guys up into teams, and we'll get started. And you guys will briefly see me pull up our starting page on the Twitch page for DePaul Esports, and we'll get going there. Did I miss anything?
I think we're good.
Cool. All right, well, if that's the case, I'm going to jump out of here and get started over there. I'm pretty sure between Lucia and Betty, if there's any questions further, they can probably direct them to me and I'll answer them there.
All right. I did see a latecomer question, not for you, Kevin Fair. So go ahead and get ready because I know the students are ready for that. But there was a late entry for the panels. Why are gamers so passionate? That's a tough one to answer. Who wants to take that one? You're probably all muted, so you'll need to, maybe we can do a rapid fire. Felipe, are you jumping in? Or Sasha?
Yeah.
All right, Sasha, you're on the top of my screen. Why are gamers so passionate? And we'll do a round.
I think it's for me, when you're playing a game, it's something that you accomplish. You did it all on your own, or in the case of my RPGs, like that's a story that you're creating. There is that connection that you have emotionally to it, no matter like if you're playing by yourself or with other people.
Awesome. Felipe?
Oh man, why are gamers passionate? I don't know. I'm an extremely competitive person, and I always try to be the best at every single thing that I play. Like, for example, I have never played League of Legends before in my life, and I started playing over the weekend because one of my fellow coaches, my colleagues, he was like, "Come on, let's play." I was like, "All right, cool." I didn't think I was gonna like it, but just the fact that I am so competitive and I didn't like not being good at League of Legends made me like it. It made me want to get better at it. And I think that's just one of the things that's awesome about video games. No matter what it is, you can always be a little bit better at it. You can always do something to improve. And I think that's what makes people passionate about video games, or what makes gamers passionate. That that potential to improve and get better, I think is something that drives the passion in video games.
Greg, why are they so passionate?
No, I think that's right. I think Felipe is right. I mean, if I were to say it in 3 words, learning is fun.
Yes.
And that's what video games are about. All you're doing is learning the whole darn time. And that's a lot of fun. And I don't think people take that seriously enough in the rest of their lives. And when somebody gives you permission to just drop in and just learn for hours on end, it's just invigorating and exciting and amazing.
Awesome. Todd?
Yeah, I think it's something because with gaming, like you can just find anything that you want to do in gaming. I think that's like there's always a game out there for you. I think it's really important to that gaming is for everyone. There's no one that's not included in gaming. There's, like I said, there's every community, every type of person can find something out for them. And I think that's kind of what makes them passionate, is that they have the opportunity to find what they love and stick with it and keep going. So I think that's really kind of the big takeaway here, is that, people are passionate because it's something that they believe in and that they can find and relate to.
All right, Kevin, you get the last word.
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I would boil it down to maybe 2 things. One, I think, is that it's so accessible. Like if you have a console or a computer, you can pick it up and play. There's no barriers to entry, right? Like I'm 32, I just decided to learn how to play hockey. It takes me 35 minutes to put on my gear, and then I got to go pay for ice time and get out there. And then it takes 20 minutes to take off my gear, go home and hang it up. Like you don't do that with gaming. You can just jump on and instantly start playing. And the other part of that is not only is it accessible, right? It gives you immediate feedback, right? So you're learning, did I succeed or fail? And you can learn and attempt again and try again right away in a way that you can't necessarily do if you strike out or miss your chance and have to go sit on the bench. And it's interactive. Like you're even if you're doing it by yourself, you're participating in a game that's been created by other people that other people are enjoying and talking about and sharing. So yeah, that accessibility and that interactivity, I think, are really what sets it apart from other passions as far as after school programs and hobbies and pastimes.
And it's just so much fun. All right, I shared again the last slide that has the Twitch the channel, so you can follow the competition. Hopefully the games have started. And thank you very much to my panelists and everybody else that made the DePaul program, the DeSports program possible. And looking forward to a great academic year. Bye, everybody.